Hey, welcome into the Real Estate Investing Done Right YouTube channel, where we talk about all things real estate, from owner finance to rental properties to wholesale and everything entrepreneurship that can help you build the business of your dreams and allow you to make money. If you think that's something you're going to be interested in, definitely make sure you subscribe and cut on the bell-like notifications. That way you get these gems constantly and all the time. We drop multiple videos every week, and we want to make sure you're getting that information. Right. So with that being said, today's topic for discussion is actually going to be cold calling. It's breaking down another part of the interview that I had with Real Estate IQ, but I want to make sure it brings you value, and you want to just listen to this particular portion. We're going to be talking about it. So keep winning. So let's jump into cold calling. I know a lot of you guys probably already done it, but in my opinion, this is still the number one form of marketing out there right now. Still the number one form of marketing out there right now. And what better opportunity do we have than COVID-19, right? A crisis, with every crisis comes opportunity. We just heard that earlier today. But with that being said, the reason why I say that is because a lot of people has lost their jobs. And one thing that I've noticed in having cold callers from the Philippines, having cold callers here in the United States, no knock on the Philippines, not at all, but cold callers in the United States can relate to one another. And I'll jump into that here pretty soon, but they can just relate to a lot more people. So the opportunity, what we've been able to do is just provide jobs here locally and get those people that sound like they're American and just push forward and make a lot of money, right? And be able to close deals and teach people that lost their job. Once was a crisis, now they got an opportunity to go out and go make some more money. So it works out for everybody. So we look at Dialer, ZenCall. That's what I use. I used to use Mojo. I've used Mojo Dialer for probably my first year ever cold calling. I would say it worked great until I started trying to do more as a team. But ZenCall, down in the link below, is going to give you $99 for a month's subscription with them. So essentially, that's $50 less than Mojo on a triple line dialer. This is going to be a 12-line dialer. It's going to be able to record, see who's working, see who's not working. But essentially, ZenCall is like a full-blown call center. If you put the call on hold, they'll even get the elevator music using ZenCall. So it's something that I use, and it's definitely a great tool that I would recommend for everybody on here. So we're talking about cold calling. What's important with cold calling? The quality control, 100%. The quality control, and exactly what you're overseeing and what the conversation is happening. I don't care where you get a cold caller at. If you're not on top of your cold callers, they can be anywhere. Humans are humans, regardless where the location is. Sometimes they'll start doing things wrong. So it takes that extra person to actually listen to the phone call, coach them up on the phone call, actually get better at having a conversation, actually building the rapport, finding everything, checking every box, asking the questions the right way, and not sounding like a robot on the other end of the phone, because essentially sounding like a robot is not going to get us a deal, essentially, right? We'll go through a lot of leads before we end up getting a deal. But when you actually stay on top of your cold callers, I equate it to just like being an employee at any other business. You got to train them. You got to make sure they're doing things the right way to ensure that they're actually doing that and getting the most out of them, because you're coming up with the expense of actually providing the data, the things that cost money, the caller, the scripts. If you're going through extra coaching or on the outside or hiring somebody to train them up, you're paying all this money. You want to make sure that you're getting the most out of them. So quality control. If you're not a good leader, work on being a good leader, because it pays to be a leader, especially in your company. You're going to make a lot of money if you can be a great leader in your company. So that's one thing as far as quality control. Is it scalable? I want to ask that question. Yes, I believe in real estate, especially right now in the last 3-4 years. I think more people have scaled their business using this particular form of marketing, right? It's been very big, and I've been using it for about, like I said, 3 years now. We've been having ZenCall for about 1.5 years, or about 2.5 years, so almost 3. So it's definitely a great way of marketing. Now, open rate is 56%. With that being said, all that means is that every time you call somebody, you got a 56% chance of them actually picking up the phone, right? Now, if you change your number, if that number start getting low, obviously you probably need to rotate your data every month, or you need to rotate your number as well. If you're calling a ton of people, you're going to burn through it, and a lot of people are going to say a robo dialer, and they're going to report spam. So make sure you're just looking at those particular numbers when we're talking about cold calling. Now, what's important when we're talking about cold calling? I believe rapport, and some more rapport never hurt anybody. It never hurt anybody. This is what we preach all the time. And I actually work with a company that's out in the Philippines that we actually train their VAs. I sit down and I call them and we go through one-on-one presentations, and we listen to phone calls, and we see how we can do things better to make them better, to essentially push out a great product for everybody around. But building rapport, how do we do it? Form. I broke it down right there. Acronym is form. Family, occupation, recreation, motivation. Now, essentially, the first three is essentially what we're looking for. But if you're talking to anybody, I don't care if you're even networking, this is essentially how you start off. You listen while you're on the phone, you listen for the little kid crying in the background, right? And you bring that up, and you try to be sympathetic to that situation and what's happening right there. And you try to be like them in that sense of saying, man, I can relate. I had a kid that was the exact same way. Man, I'm surprised mine isn't crying right now. Mine is right here in front of me, right? So you try to be exactly like that particular seller on the phone, or whoever you're on the phone. They don't have to be a seller, but whoever you're on the phone with, you want to get in the rapport. And 9 times out of 10, we all can relate to that first one, right? Family. We're either somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's mother, father, whatever the case may be. We can all relate to everyone in that form because we've all been in that shoe as far as family. So that's one of the first things we always talk about. And then obviously occupation. What do you do for a living? Now, would I say this is big for cold calling? Not necessarily. It's the acronym, so I had to use it. For cold calling, I don't necessarily look for that, but it's big and you can use it. If you're a real estate investor, look for other real estate investors, right? But I'll move on to the next because it really don't have anything to do with cold calling. Once we get the recreation out, this is huge. I just got off the phone with a guy earlier today, and he said he was moving up north. So the first thing I'm thinking about is, okay, what is there to do up north? And I asked him that question, what is there to do up north? And he brought up some things that he liked to do. He liked to be cool. He don't like Texas heat, right? So that's an opportunity for me to talk about that. And do he like to be outdoors while he's in the cold, and bring up fishing in the winter, whatever the case may be. Now's an opportunity to bring that up and relate to this guy. Now we're cracking jokes. And essentially, I'm still accomplishing everything that I need to do. But I understand that the most important thing that I can do with my seller is build rapport. Everything else can literally fall to the wayside. If I build rapport, I would say on the scale of 100, right? What percentage would that be? I would say rapport building is probably 50% of the whole call, right? If there's no rapport being built, especially as a company, think about it if you're a leader of the company. A cold call, this is the first line of communication with your particular seller. Right? This is the first line of communication with your particular seller. So you want to make sure that somebody on the first person you talk to sounded like a great person, sounded like an upbeat person, or at least matched and mirrored the person, right? Because at that point, now you're bringing added value to the situation. Now it's no longer just about the house. Now we're talking about it actually becoming friends, right? And then obviously you move on to motivation. Motivation is more, like I said, it's form. Motivation is technically more for networking. Again, you want to figure out somebody's motivation and what they're looking to accomplish today. So obviously I got that down. On the next one, when I'm talking about motivation, when I'm talking to a seller, typically I always emphasize, hey, this sounds like a great house. After they told me about the property, this sounds like a great property. Why are you interested in selling that particular property? Why are you interested in selling? Well, I got a tenant that hasn't been paying rent. Right? Now, once they say that, as far as motivation, we don't want to just hit it on a surface level. We want to dive a little bit deeper. We want to dive a little bit deeper with our particular seller. So at that point, we're going to be talking about, oh, really? Wow. How long have you been dealing with it? Right? We really want to open up the pain on that particular seller and get them talking about their problems and how we're here to solve them. Right? Now we go in the timeline. We want to know if they're interested in selling like right now. or is it going to be a couple of months out? All right, same thing with amount owed and equity. We want to know now. We've done our due diligence on my part, and I want to make sure that this property has equity every time we talk to anybody. I want to make sure that's already been filtered out. But essentially, we still want to talk about it. We want to see if there's mortgages, any liens, anything that we can't see that they possibly know is behind on taxes, right? And then essentially to finish it up with the cold call is their goals. What are they looking to achieve when they sell this property, right? How much do they want for this particular property? Are they looking to give it away? Because trust me, I'll take any property they're looking to give away. But at the same time, I got to make sure it's realistic, and I don't want to go in there and lowball. I don't want to give anybody an offer that's not ready to give an offer, to be given an offer. I'm sorry. So with that being said, these are the top 5 things that you should do on every cold call. This is what we work on with my Philippines cold callers, right? When we coach them, this is everything that we work on. We make sure we add value every time we get ready to push forward. So we got that. Obviously, like I said, cold calling is always number 1 for me. It's what we've done in the market, and obviously we just ramped it up. So one thing that we adjusted was just, instead of having VAs, I brought on some US people that lost their job to come on and help me out.
So with that being said, let me know what you thought about the video. Obviously, cold calling is a hot topic. I think it forever worked. And obviously I've talked about it a lot, but remember, if any kind of comments that could help me out, allow me to be better, please drop those comments down below. Anything that I can help you and bring value to you, please drop those comments or concerns below. That way I can make a video about it and essentially get you what you need. That way you're closer to getting your next deal. Hey, appreciate it. And always remember, keep winning.